Hello everybody, welcome back to Fifield Junction, and today we've got a DCC Sound fitting video for you. We're taking a little break from the reviews so that we can take one of the fabulous locomotives that we're very blessed to have in this hobby, as you can see in front of you. And we are going to be fitting sound to it. I know I've done a few sort of sound fitting and quite a lot of DCC fitting videos, but again, I'm sure I've said this in other videos, I just find that they can be very useful for people. And it's probably a good way for me to maybe go back if I forget how to do something, and I can then remind myself how to do it if I ever forget it. But I quite enjoy doing these, and I do think that they are quite useful for people. So today's video, as you can see by the locomotive in front of me, we are going to be fitting sounds to the Dapol Class 68. Now obviously you can buy sound versions of these, but I didn't. Just from hearing the sound files, I don't think the sound file was very good in the sound fitted version. I'd wanted to fit sounds that sounded good to me, and I found a decoder that has a sound file and with a good speaker combination that I think sounds very, very good and should be very easy to do as well, hopefully. So the sound decoder, it's an ESU lock sound decoder, as we can see here. It's a lock sound V5, a 21 pin model, 21 pin decoder, because this is obviously a 21 pin model, and it has the Coastal DCC sound file on it. This is the sound file that I liked the most, and we're going to be fitting it with an EM1 speaker. Originally I thought you could only use these speakers by themselves. Sorry about that. What I meant to say was I thought you couldn't use these by themselves. I always thought you had to use another speaker with these for them to work properly. It turns out that's not the case. You can use these by themselves. They just recommend to use them with another speaker, mainly because I believe the volume with these is not the best. They are probably the quietest speaker out there. However, hopefully it should still be loud enough for me anyway. But before we can actually fit the sound decoder and the speaker, we obviously have to get the body off. And now to remove the body on these is actually very easy. It's no screws, it's just a few clips. And they do Dapol have incorporated areas for you to actually almost slide your fingers in to actually prise the body off from the chassis. So it should be quite easy to get the body off. We just prise it away on both sides. Just don't careful not to damage anything while we do it. It's coming slowly, but it keeps going back on every time I take it off on one side. There we go, that's it disengaged on one side, I think. And if we go to the other side, there we go, nearly there we go, it's coming off. So if we just put the loco down, then the body should lift off nice and easily. There we go, it's off. So if we just put the body to one side, obviously we don't need that. And we can now see what she's like inside. The wires over here, they were all taped together, but I've been fiddling around with other speakers just to see if anything else would fit fine. I basically just had a quick fiddle around for the video just to see what would be good and what didn't. Basically, usually what we would get screwed onto here are these two sort of plastic sort of retainers here. I'm guessing these would hold on the factory speaker that would go here or something, but I've left those off because I shouldn't need them. Now the EM1 should fit in this space quite easily. It is said that the EM1 fits in here without the need of any milling. So if we just try and slide it in, try and do it the other way, and it should go in perfectly fine. We don't want to damage any of the wires. One of the wires just doesn't want to move out the way. If I just grab a screwdriver, just try and lift that the way. There we go. Oh. Now we've got the pickup wire on this side. There we go. And it should fit in that space quite nicely. It does seem to fit in. That's not too bad. Now the wires should reach quite easily. Yes, they do. But I'm not going to leave it in that way. I'm going to actually put the speaker in upside down, because then what we can do is use the chassis as an enclosure, and there are holes in the chassis, as you can probably see there, for the sound to go through. So I think it is more or less intended for the speaker to be fitting down. So that's what I'm going to do. Before we do that though, I will actually just cut the end off, the little plug off, because we don't need that. Then if we just strip the end of the wires, there we go. If we do the other end, there we go. Now we'll actually just tin the ends of the wires as well. With a little bit of solder, just so that they should then solder to the circuit boards nice and easily. There are PCB connections on the circuit board. There are soldering points on the circuit board for the speaker. They're literally just here behind the decoder. So then you should be able to solder the speaker or speakers, depending if you choose to use more than one, and they should solder to the circuit boards nice and easily. There we go, there should be a bit of solder on the speaker now. So now if we take the speaker again, if we just slide it underneath, I might do it the other way actually. If we slide the wires in underneath first. So I usually edit this out, but I thought I might as well leave it in just so you can see everything from start to finish. There we go. Again, be very, very careful not to damage any of the wires. This white wire just doesn't seem to want to stay out of the way all the time at the moment. And there we go. So the speaker should stay there quite nicely. Now if we grab a little bit of black tack, we will just secure it in place because we don't want it to move. Because we don't want to get any sort of vibration noises from the speaker, because that will just ruin the sound. So if we just use some black tack on both sides, just help hold it in place. There we go. If we do a bit on the end as well, if I just break that in half, there we go. If we just press down, just secure it in place. Oh. Can be a bit fiddly sometimes doing this. It's not always the easiest thing to use black tack. I'll just grab a little bit more from over here. There we go, just press down. There we go, the speaker now should be perfectly fine where it is. So if we just move that out of the way. And if we take our speaker wires, just want to bend them back over this way. And I'm actually just going to turn the logo around actually. And actually I will actually take the old decoder out first before we go any further. So if we just grab a screwdriver, if we just pry up from the corners, nice and gently, because we don't want to damage any of the pins. I don't want to damage the decoder either, because this will be going to someone else. There we go. Put that to one side. And whilst that's out of the way, we've now got the perfect opportunity to solder these speaker wires to the PCB. So if I just bring them around, if we grab the soldering iron, we want to be really, really careful that we don't desolder any other connections that are here. So I just take one of the wires. Ooh. There we go, that's one. And if we do the other one, ooh, nearly. And there we go. So that should be fine. If I just try and move them out of the way slightly. So I don't want them to get in the way of the decoder actually. But they should be fine. So now we can actually grab the decoder itself. Now usually with these decoders, the speaker comes already wired, but on this one, I'm guessing where the people loaded the sound file on, the speaker has been taken off, but that's fine, so I don't want to use that speaker. Then we've got the decoder itself. I have tested the decoder and it is working fine, so we shouldn't have any issues. So we now just want to, if I just try and move some of these wires out of the way, then the decoder should, there we go, plug in nice and easily. And that should be everything. So now, with that done, all we need to do now is test her and see if she works, and also see how she sounds. Okay, here we are. I've just given the loco a quick test, and everything does seem to be fine. The body has gone back on, as you can see. And again, she's been tested. Everything sounds fine. There's no sort of crackling. Well, there's a little bit of crackling, but I believe that's just the speaker, and it's just sort of the way the EM1s are. So I have heard the 68s before with an EM1, and they do sound a little bit crackly. But for the most part, it's not too bad. It does seem to be fine. So if we just put the loco's lights on, and I'll talk about some of the lighting functions first. So obviously activating function 0 just activates the regular running lights, and depending which direction she's going in, they obviously change automatically. Activating function 7 activates the halo lights, but you can't have those on independently, I don't think, with this decoder. You have to have the regular running lights on, and then you turn function 7 on to basically makes the regular sort of headlights at the front there just a bit brighter in a way. So if I turn function 0 off, yeah, the halo lights do go off, which is a bit of a shame, but at least you've got control of them. If I just get the function menu back in, there we go. So there's a total of about 16 or 17 different functions with this decoder, with this particular sound file. So if I continue with the lights, function 13 turns off the tail lights, depending which direction she's going in. They change automatically, so if you have function 0 on, then turn on function 13, it will basically turn off the tail lights and they stay off in both directions, and obviously as you change direction, you only get the headlights in that direction, so that's quite a nice feature. Function 14 and 15 just turns off the tail lights independently at G10, so you then have control of basically the tail lights at G10, so you can have them off permanently in one direction, but then depending on which direction it's going in, you can have the tail lights come on in that direction only, if that makes sense. And then function 16, and you have to have function 0 off for this. Function 16 is parking mode, so you then get tail lights at both ends. So there's a decent amount of lighting control. There's not, I have seen there was more on the regular decoder that was in here before, but overall it's still very, very good. So now, if we fire up the engine, and it is quite quiet, and again I have set, this is the max volume by the way, but again the EM1s are quite quiet. So hopefully you can hear that. It starts off quite quiet, but once the engine started up and you've given it a few seconds, it does get louder. So overall, despite the EM1s probably being the quietest speaker you can get, overall volume not really an issue. So function 2 is called random double horn. So basically, there's not a select horn for this function. So basically, when you play this function, you have a chance of getting several different horns. So it's almost like, for example, if you're familiar with the Hatton's Class 66 and you've got the door closing sound, there's a number of different door closing sounds you can have with that. Well, on this loco it's basically the same. When you activate function 2, there's a variety of different horns that you can get for that function, which is quite nice. So let's see if we can get through them all. Yeah, so there we go. I think there's about 3 or 4 different horns that you can get from that, which is quite nice. Function 3 is just toot. So yeah, as it says, it's a nice little short horn, which is quite nice. Function 4 is brake set slash release. Yeah, not too bad. Function 5 is flange squeal, which is obviously automatic, so we can't hear that until it's moving, but that's fine. Function 6 says fan. Let's move the piece of paper out of shot for you. There we go. That's not too bad. We've obviously done function 7, which is the halo lights. Function 8 is volume, so I'm wondering if that's notch up or something, or does it just silence the sound? Okay, yeah, so function 8 just silence the sound. function 9 is interior off / on and fade sound, so I wonder what that is. Oh, I see, so it just sort of quietens the sound. So it's a similar sort of function to function 8 then, in a way. That's okay. Function 10, I mean, is buffer and coupling pipes. It's okay. Function 11 is driver's door. Okay, that's quite good. So when you activate it, you've got the sound of the door opening, and then when you turn it off again, you've got the sound of the door closing. So that's not a bad function. Function 12 is compressor. And that's it. All of the other functions are for lights. So overall, that's not too bad. So overall, the sound file is not too bad. It's definitely a bit cheaper, around £20 cheaper than other sound files on this same decoder. So overall, it's not too bad. So if I just put the function list to one side, and let's get going around the layout. You have to excuse my awful camera skills. Overall, it's an amazing sound file. I can't fault it. There's not as much bass at the higher speeds, but overall, she's fantastic. Definitely worth doing, I think. Let's get it going a bit faster. That doesn't change. It doesn't seem to change the volume too much. Let's see what full speed is like. If we just head over to the controller and let's go full speed and see if that's any different. Okay, no, so that does seem to be the highest notch on the volume. Yeah, overall, she's not too bad. Absolutely amazing. If we just bring her to a stop. Overall, I really don't know what to say. This is fantastic. Amazing sound, amazing performance. You just need to get this done. If you have a Class 68, I highly recommend that this is the sound file and speaker that you go for. It is absolutely fantastic.